What's the degree of disappointment over the Steelers, Justin?
Yeah, Le'Veon Bell, when he went down, I think it took away a lot of hope. But, yeah, it was nice to be able to watch the game. Sometimes because of our schedule in college basketball, it really coincides with the NFL road to the Super Bowl, but it was just on a day off. It was good for everyone, especially our players, to just be able to watch that and not worry about practice or a game.
What do you think about Lowry being named as the Pac-12 Player of the Week?
You know, he earned it. He earned it through his play, and he's had plenty of weeks, which I know he's been a candidate. But I think the magnitude of the trip, playing at both USC and at UCLA, and obviously the quality of both teams, in particular UCLA, playing that way in that game, I'm sure gave him the nod. But, you know, Lowry's had an outstanding season to this point, and if you look at his statistics in conference play, he's even better. And the things that don't show up on the stat sheet, he's even better. And that means, you know, defensively, playing without fouling, a lot of those other areas he has quietly improved every single day. And I think it's a big reason our success. Not just him, but even Kobe and Raleigh. You know, those guys have been given big roles, and they've worked hard in practice. They've learned a lot through trial and error in games, and now that we're getting close to turning into the month of February, they have a lot of experience under their belt now. You know, they've played 20 games. They've been at this a while. They don't make those freshman mistakes as much anymore. I think they clearly know how to do things and how we do things here at Arizona. So Lowry falls into that category, and obviously he was terrific this weekend.
It was your first. He was the first guy to win that award this year. Does that surprise you, or do you figure, well, you got Fultz and some of these guys putting up numbers, and then you also have balance on your team where it's
Right. No, there's a lot of good players in our conference, and I think that if you focus in on who won it in their respective weeks, I think they all feel like they earned it. You know, I know Dylan Brooks won it in a big week where I believe they beat UCLA. And, you know, how can you argue about that with the statistics that he put up and the team that he beat? So we have plenty of talent in our conference, and the fact that Lowry won it this week is great.
After Saturday's game, how would you assess Alonzo's performance?
Well, striking is how I would describe it because, you know, if you played at this level, I mean, the pressure of the game, there's no practice for it. It's just different. But, you know, when you have the opportunity to play for the first time after missing 19 games, and that game that you are allowed to play in is at UCLA, it has all the makings of a disaster because, you know, that player, you know, he puts so much pressure on himself to be perfect, and, you know, the speed of the game is different. But I think it says a lot about how prepared Alonzo is. You know, the credit of our group, we've always treated him as if he could play the next game. The repetitions that he's gotten in practice, he's not represented the other team. He's not been on the scout team. He's always been on our side, our team. And I think that helped his transition, and it will continue to help his transition now that he's able to continue to play. But he did a great job. 7 defensive rebounds as a guard. I mean, that's a big stat. 4 assists, which I think is one off of a career high in the first game back. He had one of the best plays offensively in the game where he drove the ball into the lane, was under control, stopped, pivoted, and found Lowry for a three-point shot. And that's the one thing you'll see as you start to watch Alonzo, and it's something that's been frustrating for us because we watch him every day. He's a much improved player from a year ago. It's night and day. He passes the ball better. He understands the team dynamics a lot better. Defensively, he's light years of where he would have been a year ago. And his three-point shooting, the proficiency of him being able to make quality threes, you know, I'd say him and Lowry would be our 2 best three-point shooters. So it's going to be exciting to continue to watch him. And, you know, I got my fingers crossed for not only him but everyone that we can get a good stretch of health so that we can, for the first time, get some real continuity with him being back.
What was it seem like when you told the team that Alonzo was finally cleared to play?
Oh, it was how you would picture it. I think you have tremendous relief on his end, and great joy among his teammates. So, you know, they have rode this with him. They're around him every day. I think his teammates recognize how hard this has been on him. And we have a very unselfish group. And we have a group of guys that want to win, and they know how hard it is to win. So, adding Alonzo gives us a big shot in the arm. So I think all of them were very receptive and excited, not only for him but for themselves.
How did you do that? Was that in a team meeting or before or after that Friday practice, or when did you?
It would have been on the bus coming back from the practice.
Coming back. So
Yeah.
Did you know when you actually didn't know?
No. And so, yeah. But the guys are really, really, really excited, and I think Alonzo was excited and tremendously relieved. It's like the weight of the world fell off of him. So, now it's up to us. It's not a one-game moment. It's up to us to now build and get him ready, get our team ready. We have I almost feel like a shot of energy at a time when not a lot of other teams can feel that way. You've been at this for a while. You're about ready to head into the second half of conference play here soon. The calendar's turning to February. You as a coach guard against complacency, and you worry about practices not being as crisp or as sharp as they once were. In our case, it's almost like we have a new life, and we have a different team, and obviously there's more competition now than ever. So we have to make that to our advantage and hopefully continue to grow and improve here over the next few weeks.
So when you guys practiced, he wasn't a part of the game plan on Friday?
No, he wasn't, but again, remember, we always give him repetitions. He's always a part of, in a sense, he's always a part of the game plan, but he wasn't from the perspective of nobody knew he could play until that afternoon.
What do you think of the process it took to get him eligible? Was it fair? Are there things that could have been done to better the process?
It's a process that had no history, so I think, the NCAA, they did the best that they could. They were extremely fair and really had, I think, the student-athlete welfare at the forefront of a lot of things. It might not have felt that way to the outside, but they were very communicative, very direct, very cooperative, trying to hold to the standards that they need to hold these type of issues to, but also being very fair and transparent at the same time. Our university, from Dr. Hart on down, Greg Byrne, everybody. I mean, we couldn't ask for more cooperation. Again, having student athletes' welfare at the forefront of their decisions, and putting incredible hours and time into this, just to make sure that the process was done right and that what's fair is fair. And the outcome came, and I'm looking forward to not looking back, where now it's about today forward. We've lived that past, and now it's about incorporating a student athlete into what we do. Somebody who came back after his freshman year for all the right reasons, worked as hard as any player that I've coached. I know I've used that to describe a lot of our guys, but I think you see the pattern. We had a number of players this summer really work hard, nobody more than Alonzo. And he came back to be a better leader, to be on a better team, and to be an overall more complete player on the court himself. He hasn't had the opportunity to show those things. The leadership part he has. Every day in the locker room, practicing hard, not knowing if he could play. I think you guys saw how he would have been during games. There's a lot of kids that would have pouted or just sat quietly on the bench. I think he was the furthest thing from that. He's always been engaged, and again, it's great to see him get the opportunity now.
He was conditionally cleared, in November or something. Why was nobody saying anything at that point? If you knew, okay, it was just this was the case and everything was decided, why had nobody commented on it?
Because there's just too many unknowns, and again, the number one here is to protect the student athlete, the privacy of a situation that was very complicated, and to not at all harm him in any way. There are no secrets. Nobody's hiding anything. It's just a matter of trying to do right by the young man. And, if criticism comes on myself or somebody like Greg Byrne or our administration, we would much rather have the criticism pointed towards us than to do something that is unnecessary to potentially harm a young person.
Well, on the flip side of that, though, doesn't the fact that there's nothing being said maybe harm him because people are suspecting all kinds of rumors? And,
No, and I'm not going to say anything further.
Is Lowry a better three-point shooter than you thought he would be? I mean, he's over 50% for the season and 62, close to 62 in conference play. I mean, did you anticipate the numbers would be that high for him?
No, it's hard to fathom somebody his size shooting the percentage that he's shooting currently. And as you know, we have a lot of basketball left. It could certainly come down, but I'm only going to go on what these guys do every day in front of me, and it usually translates. You know, Lowry isn't a good shooter. He's not a big guy that can shoot. You know, sometimes he's a 6'9", 7-footer, and he has a good touch. And you're saying that because most guys his size can't shoot at all. Lowry, you can hold him to the standards of a two-guard or the best shooters in our conference, and I would put him toe-to-toe with any of them. You know, he's like the UCLA guys. You know, you watch them shoot it, it's like, wow, can they make shots? Well, that's how he is as well. To Lowry's credit, he's also very unselfish and selective. You know, he's not irresponsible. He's not looking to score. He pretty much takes what the defense gives. So I think that also reflects his percentage, that he's a smart player. He's an unselfish player. So, you know, when you're smart, unselfish, and you got a great skill set, and the size allows him to get clean shots off, he's going to shoot a very good percentage.
What do you make of that play on the one transition dunk where he fed the ball through his legs?
Yeah, he talked about that. I think he didn't feel like anybody noticed he did that, you know, but he's a very, very good player. That was a big play.
Now that you have your pieces in place, where can you guys make the biggest progress before the postseason?
Well, you know, I think we can be better really across the board. You can see why I would say that about offense. You know, Alonzo brings a double-figure score to the table. He brings an excellent three-point shooter to the table. At the end of games, he's a deadly free throw shooter. He draws fouls instinctively. Even in the UCLA game, a couple of his drives, you know, we take the ball out under our basket because he got fouled. Well, that leads to being in the bonus earlier. So he gives us more firepower on offense. Now it's up to us to just be even more efficient and kind of organize that. Defensively, it gives us more depth. We play through foul trouble a little bit better, and I think we can hold our team to the highest level of effort. And I don't mean, you know, hey, if you don't play hard, I'm going to take you out. I think we have great intent, but you can't help but wear down a little bit when you're playing very hard in these types of games, and we can guard against that much better. So I think our whole entire game can continue to develop. It's what I said earlier. I sense we have a chance to, like a jolt of energy. And at this time of year when you tend to lose players, you know, we're lucky to have one back, so we have to take advantage of that.
Coach, you went 4 big guys earlier in the season, and the other night you went 4 guards, essentially. Do you feel like you have the versatility to match up with anybody in the country?
We could play different styles. You know, one of UCLA's things they do really well is at some point in every game they've played, they play a small lineup. And those 4 guards obviously are all tremendous players. Sometimes they'll have TJ Leaf in there with them, and you know you really have 5 perimeter players in the game. So how you handle that segment of the game is important when you play UCLA. Again, we had more depth, we had more guards. That segment of the game we did a good job in against them because we went small and they went small. And you know, again, having more depth, more choices helps us. At that point, Raleigh was in foul trouble, so you know if you wanted to go smaller and you have one of your guards in foul trouble, it might not work out as well as you had hoped. So having Alonzo available gives us the depth that we could do that.
By having a 5th guard now available, it essentially means the minutes are more spread around. Were you seeing anything from the players who potentially would be seeing their minutes go down, react well, like particularly Kobe having arguably his best game?
Yeah, you know, I think that, again, we have a great group of guys. You know, we talk a lot about winning. Every coach does. You know, our program, the history and tradition of our program just, you know, it breeds expectations, high expectations, whether you like it or not. And for us to embrace it, you know, you want to have the best chance to be successful. And, you know, depth is something that everybody recognizes, gives you that. And, you know, it's not like any of our players is going to go from playing the entire game to all of a sudden 10 minutes. You know, I think there's going to be a lot of guys that are going to play less. But I think it's going to bring out the best in them. And Alonso's going to play the minutes that he deserves to play. You know, if he's one of our best players, then why should he play less minutes, regardless of when he became available? You know, it's going to take us a few games to, I think, iron this whole thing out, make sure that he's all set, and make sure that our team is comfortable. So we're in that period right now, obviously, but, you know, I like to think that as we get through this week and into the following week, that we'll all be really sure of ourselves.
What people were kind of surprised you didn't put Kadeem on Lonzo Ball. What was kind of the reasoning behind that?
Well, he guarded him a little bit. Bryce Alford, I mean, he was coming into our game, he was making 5 threes per game. And he was the second leading scorer in the Pac-12, their leading scorer, shoots the most shots. I mean, he is a load offensively. So, and the way that he scores is much different than Lonzo Ball. The more experienced defender you have on him, Bryce Alford, the better, because he uses screen so well. He's so smart without the ball. There's a lot of movement off the ball, and the younger you are, the more disadvantaged you are in guarding that. Lonzo Ball, man, he just pretty much, he's going to shoot deep threes, and he's going to push the ball in transition and use his dribble, and I really don't care who guards him. I mean, he's pretty much going to do what he does. So, you know, for us, trying to be as responsible in Bryce Alford as we could be, that was part of our game plan, and heck, he still had a really good game.
I understand what you're saying about Alonso's minutes. You're 18-2, obviously, without him in the lineup. Do you start him now? Or
We're not at that point yet. I think we'll let these 3 days iron that out. There could be a time here very, very shortly that we'll start him. But I'm not going to hold him back and not start him because he just started to play. I think what we owe Alonso is that if he's clearly one of our 5 best players, then he deserves to start. Here in the short term, and he knows this, when you just get the nod the day before and you've only had 3 or 4 days where everybody knows you're able to play in games, I mean, out of respect to the entire team, we have to work through that period of time. But that's our job this week.
Is there any part of his game that's rusty, you think?
No, I think his conditioning will get better. He's in great shape. He's always been somebody who can run forever, but there's a big difference between playing in your 20th game and playing in your first game. And you could be the greatest athlete in the world. Your body just gets used to the grind and that 2-hour period of time, even like the day, from a shoot around to the long warm up all the way through the game. It takes a little bit of an adjustment period. That is something that he hasn't done. He's gone through shoot around, but he hasn't gone through, everything A through Z. So UCLA was the first time he did it. He'll have a chance this week to do it two more times. I think he'll be that much more ready.
UCLA was a pretty hostile crowd towards Alonzo. Are you expecting every road trip to kind of be like that?
Yeah, we can't control that. Alonzo's unflappable. I mean, he's out there playing as if he's playing in a pickup game, and that's one of his strengths. He loves the game. He's a great competitor. There's nothing that somebody sitting in his 17th row eating popcorn is going to say that's going to take him off of his game. And ditto for our team. It's something that I think you grow accustomed to. And we have one of the great crowds in the game here at McHale, and so we have 5 games left on the road.
Sean, we're seeing a lot more players utilize the jab step. Kobe, in particular, effectively uses that. Is that something that you guys are teaching more of? Is that something that's a part of their repertoires coming in? And then why is that an effective way for players to get shots?
Yeah, no, that's Kobe. That's something he does well. I think he had that as part of his arsenal before he got here, and then he learned how to incorporate that in the college game. But no question, he's very, very quick off of his first step, and as he's that quick off his first step, you tend to give him room. So it makes sense for him to think about driving. You give him room, and then he takes what you give him. But Kobe played a great game against UCLA. A big reason we won the game wasn't just Lowry or Alonzo's return or our team, playing 7 turnovers. All that certainly was a part of it, but Kobe made timely shots, big shots. He scored 20 points. He did a really, really good job of being patient, and he was a big part of the game. He played 31 minutes for a reason. He was playing great.
After the USC game, you said you might bench some of your players if they weren't performing up to the defensive standards that you wanted to. Do you think that message helped them for the UCLA game?
No, I think Alonso's return helped him for the UCLA's game because, sometimes it's just unavoidable. You wear down, and that's been the storyline of our team. I think if you watch how hard we play in the first half, the defensive numbers, all of a sudden our intent sometimes is good. It just we had a wearing down effect, and to guard against that, you I think as a coach and as a staff, as a team, it can't be okay that hey, last 8 minutes I'm not going to be nearly as good as I was early. You have to push yourself, and you still have to force yourself to give great effort at both ends. In basketball, the first thing that goes when you get tired is defense. So knowing that, holding our team accountable. I mean, the USC game, they made a great run. Some of it was because we weren't 20 points better than USC. And they're a good team, especially at home. But we didn't have a lot of answers when they made that run. I think that if Alonso would have been available against USC, maybe they wouldn't have been able to make that same run because – again, when you get a chance to catch your breath and you get some rest throughout the game and you're playing another quality player for 27 minutes, I think that's what he played, you don't have the drop-off through 40 minutes that maybe you otherwise did. So that's why that was solved. If he wouldn't be with us, I mean, no question. At some point, you have to acknowledge that it's not okay for these teams to make these runs at us late in the game because it's really that defensive lapses that were hurting us.
You always have high expectations, but this weekend probably threw you further on the national radar. With the younger team, is that any concern, anything you got to deal with?
No, I mean, we have to move on. To have confidence as part of this week on the heels of LA, I would expect our team to have great confidence. We should. That's something you get from performance, playing well on the road, earning things. And, going to LA, we talked a lot about, earning respect within our own conference, earning respect from people. You don't do it through talking or complaining. You do it through performance. You do it through winning big games on the road or playing well. So confidence, I would hope, would be the carryover, but that game is over. It's so much about, getting back to our process, practicing hard, making sure we're locked in and being ready for our next game. You only have 18 of these conference games, 9 at home and 9 on the road. And, very, very quickly you take these Washington schools off of our schedule. We have 4 home games left. It's amazing. So it's not as if we have a long, long season ahead of us. So we have to embrace every day, and especially now that we're at full strength. I'll knock on wood. I just hope that we can have a good stretch of health and have this group here for a good stretch.
Yeah, I wonder too, guys flipping on ESPN and seeing themselves talked about more often, that kind of stuff.
Of course, I mean, yeah, they have to be able to handle that.
Any early thoughts on the Cougars? They seem to be playing a little better than people thought,
Yeah, they're 3-4. They won a road game at Washington. I thought they played Cal really tough. Could have won at Cal. I think we all know the team that Cal has, especially playing at home, and they're just coming off of a win against Colorado. So, Josh Hawkinson has always been one of my favorite players in our conference. He's done it year in, year out. I feel like he's been there for about 6 years at this point. He averages almost a double-double. He shoots 55% from the field. A capable three-point shooter, an experienced player. Ike Aragbu, same thing. He has a lot of experience. And, Malachi Flynn, who I'm just watching now, is one of the best freshmen in our conference. So, Ernie Kent does an incredible job of coaching offense, putting his players in a great position. And they have a style on offense and on defense that's unique. I'm glad we have 3 days here to prepare for them. And, it's the next game for us. It's not about what we did. It's about, being as ready as we possibly can be here on Thursday.
You were saying with Flynn and some of these guys bringing in, they're going to go more up-tempo the way he wants to play. Are you seeing that from the films you've seen so far anyway?
Since he's taken over at Washington State, I feel like he's played an up-tempo style. You can only run as fast as the depth you have and, the talent you have. But that's clearly what he believes in, and he's really comfortable coaching that way. You can sense that's how he wants to play. So like playing against a team like UCLA, you have to really do as good of a job as you can of trying to take that away and get back. Be really good on offense so your turnovers don't fuel their transition.
Anything else?
Thanks.